How is Bangladesh?
Yeah, how is your health?
Well, I believe still surviving. Still surviving.
Body is surviving all over the world.
That's right.
Yes, friend.
All right. Good. So it's 3:02 now. So I believe we can start the session so that everybody is able
Wait.
to get. Yeah, everybody is able to get off and do their own stuff after these presentations, right? And hey, for those of you who have not scanned the QR code in front of you, please do so. Pick up your mobile, open the camera app. If you are on iPhone, it will automatically bring you towards a few questions for us to understand you better, know who you are and where you are from, right? And just a note for the whole sessions, do keep your camera and mic on mute, camera off and mic on mute. Unfortunately, I'm working this through my house due to COVID-19 situations. So so that my bandwidth is available for everyone to see me clearly. I request everyone to turn off your camera and also mute your mic, right? So, all right, so good. Once again, good morning, good day, and welcome to today's webinar where we talk about the load cell technology. Okay, a little bit introductions about myself. I am Ken Lai. And I am actually in Malaysia, not very far away from you guys, maybe just 1,000 kilometers away from Bangladesh, India, some of the sub-Saharan countries. But anyway, we are more or less on the same climate, right? So it's going to rain today, more or less. If you heard some thunderstorm, please turn up your volume a little bit if you cannot hear me. Right, so yeah, and I'm from METTLER TOLEDO. I'm based in the Asia Pacific office in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and I serve as a regional product manager in the weighbridge business across Asia Pacific and also Europe and the Middle East region. All right, I'm supporting all my colleagues. Some of them is in the room in the business alone. All right. So, hey, I'm responsible for, right. So I get some comments that the sound is not good. Daria, can you confirm my sound is clear, or is there any disturbance in my voice?
The sound is clear. There might be a bit background noise, but
okay.
Yes, we have one gentleman still have the camera on. Would be nice if everybody switch off your camera, please.
And let me also mute who is not muted, just to make sure we have a good sound.
Okay. Yep. Should be better now?
Yeah, better.
Yep,
all right.
Go ahead.
All right, so hey, again, I'm Ken Lai, working with METTLER TOLEDO, and about 3+ years, about 4 years, I have already been working with multiple projects around the world, and now actively I'm working a project in Australia for the unmanned system for Coles, right? They are one of the biggest retail companies in Australia, right? All right, so without further ado, I will go into the presentation for today. And today is really about me sharing a little bit about who are we, what do we do, and what in my department, the weighbridge department, help the industries and support the industries, right? I will be talking a little bit about the cost of ownership of the weighbridge, our PDX load cells, if you're familiar with our POWERCELL line of products, and what is the technology really behind our POWERCELL load cell, okay? And if we have some additional time, I will also show you some case studies that I personally went on to site to actually transform the site from an attended system to a fully unattended system, right? So I'll try to get into the very last part, but hey, if there's a lot of questions, I'll skip the last part and to allow for more questions being brought up, just for the PowerCell, PDX, Loadcells. All right, hey, just a little note about METTLER TOLEDO. For those who are familiar with METTLER TOLEDO, and have been working with METTLER TOLEDO, so I would like to say thank you very much for your support. And in the coming future, we of course will be supporting you more and more and by providing more newer technologies, newer products for you, for your companies to implement it. But for those who are new in getting to know us, we are actually a very big company overall globally. We actually have about 16.5K to 17K employees around the world. And in the Asia Pacific office in Malaysia, we have close to about 300 to 400 people supporting the whole Asia Pacific, including China, India region, and also some part of Europe and the sub-Saharan region as well. To date, if you would like to know how big we are about 3 billion USD in terms of revenue generated in 2020. You can refer to the annual reports below, the reference link I post up below that, right? So if you are interested in our share price, if you are interested in getting to know a little bit deeper about METTLER TOLEDO, feel free to visit the link below, and then everything is stated there. Hey, METTLER TOLEDO has a very long history. We started off in 1901 as what we call a Toledo scale company founded in Ohio, right? And then, of course, later on, we merged with METTLER, and then subsequently we become METTLER TOLEDO. And right now, we are about 110 years, 120 years in terms of history. And we are serving the market in multiple segments within the production, the change of productions, right? From material receiving until the stage of logistic. Excuse me. Until the stage of logistic where you put your stuff on the truck, right? And then go through the weigh bridge and then you drive out, okay? So we have been serving the community, the market for roughly about 120 years. And in one of the major segments in the whole production line, right? Hey, in terms of our office around the world, we have our factory in China, in also US. Again, depending on which part of the country that we are supplying, the weigh bridge, the load cells, the access service will come from different places. But 90% of our scales today most likely come from China because we are in the Asia Pacific. China is much closer. But of course, in the part of Europe, in the part of America, Canada is served by our US-based factory. All right. And of course, if you look at the overall map, we have partners in the light blue area to support all of our customers. In the darker blue area is where we have a direct office there, where I have my colleagues there trying to support the market, trying to support you in whatever you need in terms of any precision equipment that you wanted for your business. All right. And last but not least, in terms of market position, we have to say that we are very close to the top or number one in terms of vehicle weighing, or what you call weigh bridge. We are also very well known with our lab weighing and also retail weighing. So if you are in the retail segment or lab segment, if you have those business of your own, most likely out of 10, you may saw some of our equipments used by maybe your customers, your suppliers as well. All right. So, hey, I will not go in very details on this. We have been serving multiple different customers around the world. People like Lafarge, people like Linde Engineering for EPCs, Tata Steels, very big in India, Bunge in US and around the world, Cargill, right, Air Product, Frax Air, and so on and so forth. We have been serving not only a very big customers, we also serve down to the very small mom and pops company as well. So we have really a diversified customer base around the world. So ensure that our product is right to serve on any segments and any business size that you are on currently at wherever you are right now. Okay. Hey, before I begin, I would really like to make one statement before I go into deep about what is the cost of ownership of a weighbridge, right? A weighbridge is really an important asset investment, right? And I would like to repeat asset investment because a lot of times, a lot of our customers buy weighbridge, they take it as a tool, just like how you buy a drill machine or how you buy a screwing machine, you know. But again, I would like to firm up this statement that I put up here is a weighbridge is an asset investment. Why do I say so, right? Let's dive deeper into why do I say it's an asset investment. If you look at the cost of ownership of one weighbridge system, right? You are not only buying the weighbridge itself, because by buying the weighbridge itself doesn't serve you any purpose. A weighbridge is a combination of a lot of different steel parts together to give you weighbridge, right? So the weighbridge actually is only accommodate about 34 to 35, or what you say, 1/4 of the whole total system that you are going to put in at your weighbridge area. Another 20% from them actually come from your load cell. And again, this is one of the major part where technically it's like a brain to your weighbridge, right? Without the load cell itself, your weighbridge is just another steel base, right? Excuse me. So it will not do anything. It will not get the weight for you. It doesn't read the rating for you, right? It does nothing. And another 20% or 25%, depending on the area that you are in, is really going to the foundation. A right foundation for your weighbridge is as important as you invest in your weighbridge product itself. Why do I say so? It's because if you have a very poor foundation being done, no matter how good is your load cell, no matter how good is your weighbridge, it will all be affected by the movement or by the incomplete construction of the foundations. All right. So hey, again, when you want to buy a weighbridge system, these three are the main category that you want to watch out for. But again, after minusing about 70% of what you have seen in the pie chart, the other 30% is actually coming from, of course, the delivery, because now you are dealing with a large part, right, coming from China or coming from US, right? You are dealing with maybe sea freight, sometimes land freight as well. So 8 to 10% of them is usually go to your transport and logistics, right? And of course, because it's a bulky items, you need the tools like the crane lifter to do the lifting of the weighbridge, to put the weighbridge on top of your foundation that you have built. And really, the other 20% of them is to complement your weighbridge system. All right. Traditionally, you may not see the last 20%, like the software, the terminals, the accessories being bulked into this total cost of ownership, right? Because they usually don't have, at that time, maybe 1980s, 1990s, they don't have that demand yet. But right now, we are going into a more modernized, what I call era, where everything that you do is being viewed as a data. And how do you manage that data? How do you make use of that data, your transaction data or your weight data, will affect how you do business in the long run, right? So I will, if possible, at the end of the presentation, I will show you one case studies that I personally help the customers to transform their business from a fully traditional model to a more unattended model. But first thing first, we'll go through the load cell. What is the load cell and how the load cell behave, right? So before we go into the more modernized discussions. All right, so I talked about the cost of ownership, right? But anything that we buy in our life, really, not only for your factory, not only for the production, but even at home, even when you are sitting at home, even if you are sitting at office, anything that you buy come with a maintenance and repair cost, right? Take it as your air conditioning unit, right? You will need to ask people to come and service your air conditioning units for in the period of 6 months or 1 year. Those are your costs, right? Those are the money that you need to fork up every 6 months, every 1 year, just to service your asset, right? So those are very important. Now, for our weighbridge, the maintenance cost actually breaks down into multiple parts. The most, how should I say this? The biggest chunk of spending that will go into a weighbridge system for maintenance and service is actually going to the load cell, right? This is what we experience as the expert in the market. Traditionally, if you are using analog load cell, if you are using a very old technology load cells, you are expecting the company to keep changing the load cell because the load cell doesn't last. And the load cell always gives you a different reading, not an accurate reading, right? For multiple reasons. Maybe the junction box fail. If you know about your load cell system, you know that some of the load cell in the market still use junction box, right? And the junction box is really a box that to sum up different data, and it's really a fragile box. Later, I will show you some pictures how fragile a junction box is, right? What actually really happens when you put a junction box unprotected. And when your junction box fails, most likely your load cell, if you are running on what we call a junction box system, will fail. And when your load cells start to fail, most likely you also will discover your cables start to fail. And then after a long run, maybe lightning strikes, maybe submission to water, maybe unprotected power source, your terminal will fail. And last but not least, only goes to the weighbridge part. And the weighbridge part, it will not happen in the near 1 to 2 years because it's a mass steel that you put on your foundations. You will see issues when you do not maintain it, like your bumpers starting to crack, your top plates start to crack, you know, all these stuff things, because during the first implementation and designing stage, you choose maybe a wrong sizing for your weighbridge, right? Your truck are actually 60 tons, but you have actually choose a 30-ton max capacity for your weighbridge, and that's how your weighbridge start to fail maybe every 2 years, every year, because you just can't withstand the 60 tons overweight that you are going to put in top of your weighbridge. And just to summarize everything that I have said, right? A typical service expenses. I think I lost the sharing there. All right. So I believe everybody can see my screen back.
Yes,
Okay.
can.
Yes.
All right. Hey, so to sum up everything about this cost of ownership, right? In our experience, in my experience in terms of dealing with weighbridge across the world, annual preventive maintenance like recalibrations, cleaning up your load cells, blasting off the dirt and everything off the underneath your weigh bridge really costs about 3,000 USDs, depending on where you are. But 3,000 USDs is really something we are expecting out of the annual maintenance. And if you are using what you call a older technology load cells, a replacement of a single load cell, if you are using a six system load cell, you have 6 load cells, right? 6 single load cells. One single load cells will cost you about maybe 1,000 to 2,000 USDs, and add on the time of the technicians, the equipment, the hydraulic jacks, maybe some other special equipments that you need to bring to the site. These really add up to maybe 3,000 to 4,000 USDs per visit to change one load cell. Okay, because it's not as easy as take it out and put it in. Okay, of course our power cell we can do that later. I'll show you how. But really with analog load cell, even digital load cell that you guys have been using, is not as easy as take it out and put it in. Right? You take it out, you still need to screw in a number of different wirings to get the load cell working. And the most critical stuff that may happen, because all of us is more or less in 10 to 15 degrees in the equator, we have a very big chances of getting lightning strikes. Especially myself in Malaysia, lightning strikes is a very common thing, right? Maybe suddenly you heard of lightning strikes and then something just blasts off. Maybe my PC will turn off, right? So a weigh bridge suffering from lightning strikes will cost you typically something from 20 to 25 USD. Because your load cell are not protected, your terminals are not protected, the weigh bridge is not grounded, a lot of different reasons for these lightning strikes to actually harm your weigh bridge. Okay, so as you can see, buying a weigh bridge itself, like I showed you before, that is really between 30 to 50,000 USDs. But again, when you go into the maintenance, it's really add up really quickly over the years, right? 3,000, 3,000, 3,000 over the 5 years, you have spent 15,000 for nothing, right? For just to put on something that's incompatible for what you are using, not suitable for your weighing process, etc., right? Okay, so I will not repeat this, and what I really want to stress on is buying a weigh bridge, like I said, an asset investment is really a 10 to 20 years cost of ownership. You are not going to buy a weigh bridge and just put it there and expect to change every few years. This weigh bridge is something that you buy, you will put in your plan for between 10 to 20 years to come before you're deciding to replace with a newer technology, to replace the deck or whatever, right? So, and that is why you want to choose the best for your asset, right? It's just like you're buying houses. You have a certain budget, you want to choose the best based on your certain budget, right? That is something, how we call asset choosing the right asset for your investment. All right. So now, in terms of weigh bridge, right? There's a lot of things that are happening with your weigh bridge. If you are not designing the weigh bridge as per what you are using right now, if you buy a substandard load cell, right, at a very cheap price during your first purchase of your weigh bridge, what you do not really know is actually the load cell or the weigh bridge are giving you inaccurate readings. Okay, you may not know. You just put in there, hey, the first 6 months you use, you don't really see any problems because you don't have any baseline to compare with. After the 6 months or maybe a year you use, you will start to realize why 40 tons of coal, maybe example, have become 40.5 tons in the period of 1 year, but actually you are weighing the same thing. The material does not change. the truck does not change, right? It's more or less the same thing, but you are reading it differently. Okay, so this reading inaccuracy comes from a lot of different reasons, right? It can be from your load cell, it can be from a weigh bridge, but 80% of your time, I would say it comes from the load cell. Like I said, load cell is the brain of the weigh bridge. It transforms the weight of the truck into a readable signal back to your terminal. So anything that happens, a good guess will be your load cells, right? And if you look at the losses, if you are reading it wrongly every single time, in front of you, let me just take an example. Let's say corn, right? Example is $60 a ton. Just say that you are losing 6 cents a kg. Well, 6 cents a kg is really nothing, nothing to a lot of us, right? But if you multiply that with 100 trucks per day, 100 trucks a day, you are really losing about 300 to 400 USD or dollars or whatever currency that you are working on a day. When you multiply that with weeks, with months, with years, hey, the value that you are losing by just maybe underselling your customers or overselling your customers is really getting bigger and bigger. Okay, as you can see in front of you, a 2 cent losses per transaction per kg per year is 21,000. Hey, enough for you to buy another weigh bridge, seriously. And when you go up to more severe cases, 15 cents, hey, you are looking at 100 or 1,000 of losses. Hidden costs that you does not know about until you really go and do the calculation yourself. Really, you go and track it yourself. Okay, so bear in mind, last but not least, for this chapter alone, buying a weigh bridge is really about total cost of ownership, and it's about an asset. It's not something that, like your phone, right? You buy it, hey, if it's spoiled, you buy a new one. It's not like that. A weigh bridge is something you buy, you expect to last as long as you wanted the weigh bridge to be honest, in terms of buyer's perspective.
Viens voir notre formation.
Yeah, all right. So, okay, so hey, next is really what I want to show you, or what I want to stress on is the load cell itself. And in METTLER TOLEDO, our load cell, we call it a power cell load cell because it's really not a digital load cell, it's not an analog load cells. And why we call it power cell? So let me tell you why. We have been calling our load cell power cell load cell for a number of years now, right? And the first version of power cell load cell came out roughly about the 1980s, right? Where we call it 0760. At that time, a lot of different things are by code. They don't give it a name. If you go back to history, even the PC doesn't call a PC, they call it with some code names, right? That's a trend during the 1980s. And then over the time, we migrated to an MTX load cell. If some of you have been using our MTX load cell, thank you very much for your support. It's a very reliable load cell. But as time goes by, we have advanced in terms of technology we put into the load cell. Right now, we have two different models, the GDD and also the PDX load cell. Today, what I really want to focus is really the PDX load cell itself, because the PDX load cell is something of a breakthrough with METTLER TOLEDO load cell department, right? This is something that we are very proud to have, we are very proud to create, and we are very proud to set the baseline to all of our competitors in the market itself. Okay, so hey, I will skip this video, but if you go to the YouTube at your own time, you can go through the whole video of how PDX was made. But I will not touch this video today. Just to let you know, this is available at the YouTube. Just Google PowerCell PDX. You will get it. Hey, what's so good about PowerCell PDX, right? when we first launched PowerCell PDX, the one thing that we always promote is the ability to phase out the junction box 100%. That is what we always tell our customer, and that's really the easiest thing that we can bring added values to you, to your weighbridge operation, right? That's why we always tell our customers, PowerCell PDX is very easy. You are changing from a junction box, a full of issue junction box, to a DC chain, what we call it, load cell to load cell connection. And with these load cell to load cell connections, you are technically reducing time changing your load cell, because now you do not need to do extra extra connections, extra steps to connect your load cell. It's really plug and play. It's just like your PC or your laptop. You plug in, you on your terminals, and it's all working again. You do not need to do any other additional steps just to connect your load cells, right? Aside from that, one thing that we are very proud to bring to you in PowerCell PDX load cell is the CAN bus network. Traditionally, what happened is a lot of load cell uses the A to D converter in the junction box itself, meaning you get a certain reading in terms of analog signal, let's say milliampere signal, and that milliampere signal is converted to a digital signal, readable signals in kg or in tons to your terminal, being summed up in the junction box, right? What we do is we do all of that inside the load cell itself. We no longer separate all of these things on the external equipment. We do everything within the load cell itself, and we actually convert this digital signal to a CAN bus signal. And if you ask me what is CAN bus signal, it's very easy. You just go to your car, and then everything inside your car itself is CAN bus signal. If you want to open the manual of your vehicle, let's say Toyota, Honda, right, you will see only CAN bus network or CAN bus connection in there. You will not see any more analog signals being used. You will not see any more digital signal being used. Why is that? It's because all these analog or digital signals is very susceptible to magnetic interference. Anything like you rub your hand, you have magnetic static in your hands, right? You have a very powerful magnet. It could disrupt the network, or disrupt the electricity that is run through the network itself. All right, CAN bus is really running on, like what you see the robotic language 010101, right? It's really running on that. It will not go wrong. If you pass 10-0 to the network, you will receive 10-0 at the end of the network. As simple as that. Okay. And last but not least, what we always tell our customer is when you want to change your load cells, is you will want something that is easy for you to change, because not everybody is a technician. We cannot train everybody, right, to be good at changing load cells, right? We build these load cells just for you to change with few touch. Just take out the cables, plug in the cables back to new load cells, start up the terminal, and that's pretty much about it. Okay, so hey, I will not go in very detail of all this overview of the PowerCell load cells, but some of the things that I want to bring into your understanding is that our PowerCell PDX load cells is IP69K certified. If you are familiar with IP rating, the ingress rating, 69K, you will need to go through a jet spray testing at different angles at a 60 degrees Celsius water jet spray for 30 seconds per pulse for a number of times. to get it certified. And to be honest, it's really hard to get this IP69K rating for any equipment in the world. And we are fortunate that our load cells with state-of-the-art digital welding at our factories, we are able to get these IP69K certifications. And when you buy our PowerCell load cell, you can always request for these certifications. If you are working for your EPC project, they want a certain proof that this IP69K, we can provide these certifications, no problem. All right. And hey, this is just a little bit of test that we do in our office. We submerged the whole load cell all connected together back to the terminal. And believe me, we are not cheating in this place. You could buy one, you could test it yourself. It will not stop working. It will still work. For 400, I think right now it's almost 500 days. The last they still keep it inside the aquarium. It does not fail, right? It will still give a correct reading. You put 10 kg of test weight, it still display 10 kg of test weight. Okay. This is something that we are very proud because I'm not sure about the other region, but region like ourselves in Malaysia, Thailand, Japan, Korea, we are very susceptible to flooding at site, to be honest. So this is something to help our customers to have a worry-free asset in your weighbridge management area so that whatever happens, flood comes, you don't have to really worry. End of the day, when the flood subsides, you can still use your weighbridge. All right. Hey, last but not least, I talked about the IP69K. I talked about how good you can replace, how easy you can replace your load cell. The next topic that I want to talk to you about is really lightning protection. If you know about lightning, you can actually roughly think that, roughly have an idea of how dangerous lightning strike is. One normal lightning strike, just a lightning strike slashing through the sky at a normal day, at a normal rainy day, creates about 20,000 amperes of load, right, of voltage of this dangerous strike into whatever things that have strikes on. And our PowerCell PDX load cells, we can actually withstand 3 times the normal lightning strikes rating. Okay, we do not only say this because we think it can withstand that. We send it to a third-party lab. It's really nothing to do with METTLER TOLEDO. We send it to this lab. We try to get certifications with this PowerCell PDX lightning protections, right? We plug in all of our lightning protection kits, right? Our terminals, and then they jot down, use a Tesla coil to up to 80,000, and it fails at 80,000, meaning we can protect your system up to 80,000 ampere of electrical strikes. Okay, and any higher than that, it will fail. And I'm not saying our PowerCell PDX is a very good that can withstand hundreds of thousands of lightning amperes of lightning strikes. No, but what we tell you is we are able to protect your equipment, protect your system up to 80,000 ampere of lightning strikes. Okay. All right. Hey, I would like to take the next remaining time to actually talk about what we put into our PowerCell PDX, right? We talk about how good it is, how easy to change. We have this IP69K, we have the lightning protection. But what makes us so different from other load cell itself? This is what we call PowerCell PDX, active compensation, right? This active compensation, like what the name implies, actually compensate for different variables around our surroundings in the load cell itself. Because load cell like any other thing in this world, is material, right? It's really a metal made up of a special alloy metal. And this special alloy metal, no matter how good it is, it will still be susceptible to temperature changes, multiple loading cycle, the spring cycle, right? You're going on, going off, different electromagnetic noise interference surrounding, on our daily life in your factory, right? We try to use a microprocessor inside the load cell itself to compensate of all these variables, so that 10 kg of signal that is coming from the truck weight itself, from the weigh bridge itself, going to the terminal, is what you guys are reading. It's not 12 kg, it's not 15 kg, it's not 20 kg. It's as close to as what the truck actual weight it is, right? This is what we call active compensation. And this is why we differentiate ourselves from the digital load cell out there. Digital load cells, although the name says digital, the only thing that digital load cell does is changing the analog signal to digital signals. It does not give you compensation. It does not have the algorithm inside the load cell to calculate how much to compensate if you have 60 degrees Celsius of temperature surrounding, if you have minus 40 degrees Celsius temperature surrounding the load cell. It really doesn't do that. But our PowerCell PDX load cell do all of those, just to give you the closest and the most accurate possible reading that you can get once you read it from the terminal itself. All right. And there's really three major compensation that we do inside the load cell. First is the temperature error. As you know, if you are living in the equator area, you are really going through 30, 40, 50 degrees Celsius, right? And if you are living in something somewhere north, like my colleague there, somewhere in the Baltic region, in the northern region, you can go up to minus 10, minus 20. But I'm there to say, if I use the same load cells, put it in, let's say, Bangladesh, giving it 10 tons, it will read 10 tons. If I use my load cell and put it into the Antarctic, I give it 10 tons, it will read 10 tons. It will not give you any lower or any higher. The reason why is because we compensate with the thermal expansions of the material itself. Okay, when the thermal expand due to very hot conditions, we compensate. When the material contracts due to very cold weather, we compensate, right? So that you can get the most accurate reading from the load cell. So what we are really want to do is to bring everything to the straight line as ideal as possible. Okay. Next is what we call linearity and hysteresis. Okay, I don't want to get too technical into the terms, but this is what it meant by the load cell itself. How good is your material that you use? It's not a perfect string. What we call why we say it's not a perfect string is because any material in the world that you use is not a perfect static material. It's all move. The molecule inside the material is moving. The book that I'm holding is not a perfect state material. The molecule inside is moving. Same goes to the load cell, right? So when you put load on top of the load cell, it will be compressed. And during cold weather, it will be subtracted, all right? So there's movement in this compression. There's movement in this, what we call the linearity and hysteresis. That's why we put this into the algorithm to counter this, what we call the law of nature, right? Because we cannot go against this. This is something that is absolute. everything is not on a perfect solid state. Everything, the molecule is moving. We are trying to compensate on all this movement that is really happening at the load cell itself. Right? So again, we try to bring it into the straight line and the most ideal cases. All right, last but not least, and like I tell you about molecules and all those, molecules behave depending on what kind of temperature that you are living. This is what we call creep error, right? So the temperature, the sensor inside is really to check at what temperature the metal is behaving at what state. That's what it really do in a layman term, right? So the microprocessor keep the track of the changes over time so that the output that you are getting now is as ideal as the factory setting itself. 10 kg will give you 10 kg. This is what we really want to achieve in the long run. Of course, we are not perfect. It will still run. That is why the microprocessor try its very best by algorithm to pull back to the ideal line of reading. Okay. All right. So hey, these three items is really what we have put into the PowerCell PDX load cell. All right. And of course, we have different type of compensation. And if you want to know more, I have a PowerCell PDX white paper that I can send to anyone who have requested it. And then you can, of course, go through what is really happening with our PowerCell load cell. Okay. And I really don't want to compare technology too much, but we have journeyed from what we call analog load cell, right? METTLER TOLEDO 40, 50 years ago, we are selling analog load cell. We cannot deny that because that's the advanced technology at the time. But now we have migrated to PDX load cells. We want to look back and compare what actually improved over the time, right? And the most, like I said, the most easiest thing that you can recognize is that we no longer use what we call junction box. We now use just daisy chain. Everything is connected from load cell to load cell itself. One thing that I actually forgot to tell you guys because it's really so much of feature to bring to you guys, the bridge detection. That's actually gases we put inside the PDX load cells just for us to detect if there is losses in the gas itself, meaning there is a punctured load cell, the terminal will tell you about it. Why do we want to do this? I mean, we could just seal it and trust that our welding is perfect, trust that our material is perfect. But we go one step further. Why do we put gases inside the PowerCell PDX load cell? It's because in the event of accident, in the event of punctured, maybe the rocks, the sharp rock hit into the materials, right? And then it punctured those. You are susceptible to water damage. You are susceptible to a lot of different damage. Because it was punctured, you have now an opening, right? We want to give you an early warning so that you can go and order the spare part to change it, or you can ask our technicians wherever you are to come and check it before the system fails in the end, right? So this is really what we want to do. And last but not least, at the moment, we are able to support up to Zone 1 already, and it's Zone 1 certified. If you have any projects related to Zone 1, Zone 2, do let us know. We can provide a solution using our PowerCell PDX and our IND terminals to be supplied and installed in the Zone 1 or Zone 2 area. All right, like I promised, I want to show you some of our own older junction box that we put on site. Some of it is our competitors, but I do not want to mention names here. But the junction box is really easy to be penetrated by water because it's usually put under the weighbridge itself. So when the water goes in, as you know, water touched electricity, everything is spoiled, right? Because it shorted everything inside. And since it's not sealed correctly, it's very easy for dust, any external materials to go in and disturb whatever that you are doing inside the junction box. Okay, and with the with junction box, you come with cables, you know, running to junction box to the load cells, running load cells to terminal. All these cables is easily tangled within your bridge. This is something that I do not believe when I first joined this department. The reason why, because hey, bridge is such a big equipment. How could it turn the cables and tangle the load cell, right? But it actually does, because a lot of the load cell in the market does not have anti-rotation feature. Whereas, good news to you, our PDX actually does have anti-rotation. So anything that you put there, it will not run, it will not turn, it will be as per what you install during the first day. Okay. All right. So hey, like I said again, in terms of technology, we are not really comparing brand to that brand, but what we are comparing is how far we have journeyed in terms of technology, from analog, from digital, and from now POWERCELL, right? And if you buy POWERCELL, this is something that the best thing that you can do to your weighbridge, because now you are buying the latest technology for your weighbridge system. Okay, the latest technology in the load cell product itself. Okay, do not, once you adapt the new technology, you really do not want to go back in time and adopt an older technology. All right, it's like you're using a latest version of your Android or iOS. You really do not want to go back like 2 versions before that, right? It just makes no sense. Something that is already created that is more advanced, you should have the opportunity to use it rather than going back to the older technology just because it's very cheap, because people does not want it anymore. People are trying to migrate to a newer technology. Okay. All right. Hey, to sum up, before I go into the final slides, where I say I will share to you as a bonus, is really POWERCELL is a great load cells that METTLER TOLEDO have created over the years. And try your very best to understand a little bit more about POWERCELL, because the features that we put inside the POWERCELL PDX is more than what I can brief you today, right? What I can brief you today is really the tip of the iceberg there, right? There's still a lot of things that you can do with POWERCELL PDX with our weighbridge system. Okay, so if you have any other questions, you can please come to our colleagues in the chat room, or if not today, you can call them up, you can go to our website, check us out, you know, and then at any time inquire about this POWERCELL PDX load cell. All right. Hey, last but not least, I have 5 minutes left. Sorry if I go over time a little bit more, because I think this is really an interesting case studies that I want to share to you. This is an animal feed plant that I have worked on in Vietnam. Okay, I don't want to share the name. It's a very well-known animal feed production plant. Before I go there, before we do the technology changes, they are on attended operation, right? So what they do is the truck comes in, the truck driver then goes down from the weighbridge, walk to the scale house, do the registrations, order processing, drive into the warehouse, drop the materials, and then drive out to do the completions, where the truck driver need to walk again to the truck, to the scale house. You can see there's a zebra crossing in front of them, just to complete the transaction. So the question is, how long does the whole operational take? So there is 3 different areas that takes the most time. First is the registration at the guard house, let's say 5 minutes. The order processing, if the truck driver able to walk very fast, 5 minutes. And of course, when you complete the transaction, if the truck driver is able to react very fast, let's say 5 minutes, you are taking 15 minutes per transaction. You are only able to do 4 transactions per hour, and it's only doing 40 transactions per day. Hey, it's not really a lot for 40 transactions a day, meaning you are doing about 40 trucks a day. But you are investing in the weighbridge that costs you 30 to 40,000 USD, right? And on top of that, you are needing to hire 9 different extra staff, or between 5 to 9 different extra staff to manage the traffic, right? There's all the waste, all money wasted just because you are going through a very manual way of doing transactions. What we have done is really we put in unattended operations to the whole scenarios. Registration now no longer need to be done. Only for the new truck that has not been registered before, you need to go through the registration. But once you have registered, everything is go through the long range RFID. The truck goes in, automatically the barricade will open, capture the weight. Even the truck driver does not need to come down and do any operation registrations. Everything is automated. Going to the warehouse, even in a warehouse, everything is linked. The warehouse guy could see what is in the warehouse, what is the incoming trucks, all of that. And then once the truck driver pick up, and then he or she could just drive out of the weighbridge, off the plant, off you go, right? Everything aside from the loading in the warehouse, you are talking about less than 3 minutes, okay, per transaction, okay? We are really talking about 60 transactions to 100 transactions per hour, right? So you can see there's a massive changes from 4 transactions per hour, right? So yeah, so this is what we put in, and I don't want to go in what we put into the whole process. We have the software called Data Bridge to link all of this up, to put in an unmanned system, unattended system. If you want to know more, please catch up with some of our colleagues in the respective region that you are in, respective countries, states that you are in. We will come and help you to advise you what is the best method to improve the production at your plant. Okay, so hey, that's all from my presentation, and thank you very much for your attention for this 55 to an hour of time. So I believe there's some questions in the chat room.
Yes, Ken, there's some question. Would be nice if you can also answer them.
Yeah. So let's start with Mr. Ratan Kumar. So he asked, if detect bridge in any load cell, is there will be any weight differences? Hey,